On today's show, Luka and KP finally get on track. I'm so excited to finally talk about a game where threes went down. Luka and KP were connected. I got my friend John Sabine here to talk about this game. He's a Dallas fan, Dallas native through and through. We'll get into it today on today's Locked On Mavs.
Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and coordinator for the Locked On Podcast Network. And joining me, friend of the show, friend of the network, John Sabine, Dallas fan. And complicated way that I met you, but welcome.
I know, complicated. We met on like coming around the back end, truly. But this is a thrill. Big fan of the podcast. Like, truly hearing that this is Luka Doncic to listen to Locked On Mavs gives me goosebumps. So this is an honor, a thrill, and to celebrate a win with you.
Ooh, it's good. It's good.
On this Friday night, how lucky can we be? Truly.
Oh, it's
so
great.
Thank you.
So
Nick, this is the best.
So I met John because he is friends with my friend Matt Peck and Dave Watson from the Locked On Bulls podcast. You did Bulls Outsiders on NBC with them for a little while, and so. But that whole time you were in a similar way that I am right now. You were moonlighting as a Bulls fan, covering the Bulls, but always a Mavs fan because you're from here. Obviously, people can see on YouTube your Twitter handle is J Sabine 214, which is obviously the Dallas area code.
I live in Chicago, but I love Dallas and I love the Mavericks. And yes, like you know what it's like to lie. No, not lie, but like to code switch. And I hosted a Bulls talk show on NBC Sports with them. And then when they would play the Mavs, I would I would cheer for the Mavs. Like I would just be like, and it was it was the Bulls. It was the Boylan Bulls and the Luka Mavs, and it was like in Dirk's last year. It's like, what am I gonna not watch that?
Right.
So I'd be hiding on my phone, and I'm supposed to be watching like Chris Dunn dribble off his foot. So I'm thrilled to be on and to be who I am.
Doesn't that feel good?
But I do love the Bulls. I will say this: the Bulls are great, but you can have Eastern Conference team, Western Conference team. Yep. You do two Western. That's tough. But hey, it's big of me. We love it.
It is what it is.
But I'm thrilled, man. So I'm just so excited about this game. Truly.
Yeah, let's get into it. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day, including weekends. We are here for every single post game, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where you can watch us right now, hanging out. You can see the Dallas Morning News in the background, right? Or you can
Dallas Morning News.
Yeah, you can check it out right there from the
Blue Grit, the worst headline for the championship. You could have done ridiculous. You could have done simply marvelous, but Blue Grit. I'm still mad about that headline. Dallas Morning News. That's why Prince dying. I swear.
Let's get into this game. The Dallas Mavericks win 123-109. The final score didn't even really tell the whole thing because the Mavericks sort of tanked it towards the end there. But this was the most complete game for the Mavericks so far this year, obviously, right? Luka and KP, 32 points each for him. Luka had 32, 12, and 15 assists, which means the Mavericks finally hit some threes, which they did. They hit 40% from three for just the third time this game. That's the big thing. Luka and KP finally on track in this game.
It was unbelievable to watch. It truly felt like that Step Brothers scene where it's like, did we just become best friends? Like it felt like when he passed to him at half court, you knew it was going in before he shot it because Luka passed it to him. There was pick and rolls. It's like, I don't know why we don't do that.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought a pick and roll with Luka and KP would have worked with him as the lone big?
Truly, and KP was diving, and when KP cuts, like good things happen. Like he looked spry. I don't know. This felt. It's gonna be hard not to read too far into this.
Yeah,
because it looked so good, and Tim was off, but you didn't need it because he had two 30-point scorers, and Luka had a triple double, and he had 14 assists, and half of those were to KP. Come on.
It felt like the rhythm between KP and Luka was on for the first time in 2 years, maybe the first time since the end of not the season before, but then the season before that when they were going into the playoffs and they were going in the bubble and we were like, oh, bubble KP and all that. This finally felt like a game like that where they were just going at it. Now, I have to right away kind of poo-poo this a little bit. It was against the Spurs. The Spurs did not have any defense that they of any kind, or any motivation really of any kind to stop the Mavericks. Jakob Poeltl was out in this game. We mentioned that yesterday, how that was going to be a big deal for the Mavs because he's their only really rim protector. Drew Eubanks did his best, but my guy fouled out to try and like just get out of the game. I think he's just like, here, let me just foul you real quick so I can get out of this game.
Because he played well against us in both those past games too. I was like, oh, Eubanks gives us the business. He's like Zubats, like it's crazy. But yes, we should beat the Spurs, right? But we did, right? Like, so we took care. Like, you can poo-poo it, but we took care of business, and we used this as a way to get better and actually like execute, like as opposed to like relying on Brunson to save us or Boban to save us like the last game, right? So I hear you, poo-poo, but like it also, this is exactly what you want. Like it was a scrimmage, and it looked fantastic.
And the way, like what this game does for the Mavericks, I think was shown in the end of the game where there's like 4 minutes left and you're like, okay, they're up by 20. Jason Kidd takes a timeout. Okay, he's going to take the starters out of this game. And then Jason Kidd didn't take the starters out of this game. And the reason why you don't take the starters out of this game is because they need some more reps like succeeding.
Okay,
right?
Thank you. I needed that because I was like, take them out. What are you doing?
Yeah, right.
Like,
no, and it seems dumb, right? It's like, oh, take him out. KP will get injured. Luka will get injured. But they need some more reps together where things are going really well. They finally had like, during the meat of this game, an offensive rating of 134. You're like, all right, finally, things are going well. Guys are shooting the ball well. Things are happening. KP can get downhill. He's moving well. He's hitting threes. He's hitting around the basket. Like, they just needed some more reps as things were going well.
I like this.
I thought that was sort of the identity of this game, and what the Mavericks finally needed is a game like this where just like, all right, we'll just blow the doors off the Spurs. Now they didn't blow them off towards the end there. Jason Kidd mentioned it. He's like, if one thing was to go better for this game, I wish we would have ended better. But I thought that was the reason why he left them in there.
And I'd also, we were never coughing it up, right? Like, so it never got to that point of like, oh, right? Like, we're going to lose this. It was just like, oh, this is like, the Spurs team has like, they have decent talent, like all of those guys would do great on championship teams. They just don't have a guy.
Maybe in like 3 or 4 years.
I feel like Bissell kills us. Like Bissell shoots like Ray Allen against us. Like, and I feel like I wasn't worried about the closing because it didn't feel like a typical Mavs. Like, what are we doing? It felt like, oh, they're just still trying, but we got this. And they always found an answer. That makes me feel bad. When they didn't take him out, I was like, let's play Brunson, like play Boban.
Well, the entire timeline was like, finally, Moses Brown is going to play. I think Jimmy, All Things Mavs, was like, I want Moses Brown to play all of the fourth quarter. And I was like, I just want Moses Brown to play at all. And so I don't think you're going to get the entire fourth quarter or anything like that. But
can we talk about Mavs fans and Moses Brown? Because we love him. Yeah, we love him.
Let's get to it a little later. What did you see from Luka in this game? Again, 32 points, 12 boards, 15 assists. He was 6 of 13 from 3, finally hitting threes. The only really thing that he struggled with was at the line. 4 of 8 from the line. He was visibly frustrated in the first half when he like literally grabbed the ball and just smashed it on the ground after he missed another free throw. But what worked for Luka in this game?
Everything. 32, 15, and 12. Like, everything worked for him. Like, I truly feel like when his teammates start hitting shots, he's more willing to give it up. He wants to pass. That is his nature, right? He'd rather pass than shoot. And when he has to shoot,
some days,
but like you can tell when he's like pass, miss, and it's like, okay, all right, I tried. What do you want me to do? I feel like he gave us everything, and truly, 15 assists, like after the last Chicago game, like that. I just feel like that was such a step for this team, that he's the facilitator and not just the guy who saves us. Right? Like he actually is orchestrating stuff as opposed to just like, all right, let's do snake eyes, see what happens. So what did you think? I loved Luka this game. I thought he gave us like a sampling of all his best hits.
Yeah, absolutely. When his threes start going down and when he starts getting some easy buckets around KP buckets and things like that, then all of a sudden, things just start to open up for him. And I think that's huge for Luka's game. If he starts seeing things go, he he really works behind momentum, where he's like, all right, I'm feeling momentum, and I'm just gonna put my foot on the gas and just boom, I'm just gonna run through it. So, I thought it like so much was going well for him in this game. It was one of the reasons why, again, Jason Kidd left him in, because it's all right, things are going well. Let's just keep him in and let him continue to work and eat and get work through this momentum.
And I you have helped me, because we need to get those reps, because we don't have the lineups, right? We still don't know who we are, where other teams know who they are. And we should. I feel like we've wasted a lot of this early season trying to square peg, circle hole, and I'm sure everyone would agree. Like most people would agree.
That's literally what Isaac said like 2 days ago.
Did he really? Like,
Yeah.
and that's what it feels like. It just
Right.
feels like it feels like we're doing this to prove a point, as opposed to like win games. Where Carlisle was never this precious, right? Like he would be like, oh, let's try it. Like his adaptability as he later on in the years was one of his huge strengths, and I wish Kid had that right now. But man, Luke, I mean, when you have a guy who does a 30-point triple-double with 15 rebounds, like what? I mean, that's special stuff, and it won't even be a blip because it's Luka. It's like he's expected to do that.
Right. Yeah. No, this was like Jason Kidd the other day said that Luka was average. This was like a above average game for Luka.
Yeah,
Not even a great game for Luka.
Yeah,
Right?
like, I
Like
don't
just
think-
above average.
I don't think Steph or Dame has even touched any like that ever. And like, it's just like we take it so for granted that like this man's going to put up 30 and 15 and 12, on a Friday night.
Oh, absolutely. We have to talk about Kristaps Porzingis. We have to get
Oh.
into the game that he had. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about. We'll go around the rest of the roster, because a bunch of guys contributed in this game. So we'll talk about
Yes.
them coming up. We'll get into that in just a minute. All right, John. Let's get into this game. We've been talking about Luka. He had an absolutely great game. He had 20, 10, and 10 in like 22 minutes of play.
I know. There's a triple-double watch in the second quarter. Like, it was like, this might happen. He had a double-double by halftime.
It was awesome. It was a great game. Plus, we should also mention 15 assists to 2 turnovers for him.
Yes.
As you're talking right now, I'm looking up to see how many times that's even happened this year.
I mean, especially after that Chicago game when it felt like there were so many turnovers. Like, the fact they only had, and I think as a team, there were like 4 or something crazy. Like, there was only 1 turnover in the first half for the Mavs.
The only other person that's had a 15 assist, 2 turnover game this year.
This year?
There's only been 4 players now that have had 15 assists. It's Luka, Chris Paul, Fred VanVleet, and the only guy that's had 15 assists and 2 turnovers, DeJounte Murray. That's so random.
That's random. That is
Mavericks played
insane.
them.
I would never. You could give me 1,000 guesses. I would have been like Jokic. Like I would have never
Yeah,
gotten
right.
that.
But yeah,
Man,
so that's only happened 4 times this year, which is incredible.
That's incredible. But I mean, I think it's weird that like he had a 30, 15, 12 game, and this is the KP game. Isn't that weird?
It is, yeah. It is.
It's his game. Like he put his stamp on this, and he was the best we've seen him in. I don't even want to think about how long.
Yeah.
Because I'll be aware of my own mortality. But like he was truly fantastic. He was unbelievable. His shot looked great. It was really. I mean, like, do you know what his plus minus was? This is why this stat should be deleted.
I do.
-5. -5. That was
It's because of the end of the game, I think.
But that's insane. That's insane. What are you? No, he was like negative the whole game. The whole game he was negative because of the beginning. Like, and so I'm just like, get rid of it. But he was truly fantastic. He shot such an incredible percentage.
His shot chart was just perfect. It's perfect, exactly what you want it to be. He took some 3-point shots, but he took them mostly like right on line, right? Anything he does sort of out on the wings in the corner, he's not that type of shooter. He is an online shooter, like
He plays
right in front.
he plays beer pong with the ball.
Basically, yeah. So his shot chart, I'm going to show it on YouTube if you guys are watching this right now.
That's so cool.
But if you see his shot chart, boom, you're like, okay, KP, 3 threes, like literally right on line with the rim. 1 pull-up shot in the middle. It was like a mid-range free throw line jumper, which is fine. Sure, take a couple of those a game. And then everything else around the rim. Everything else was cuts. It was pick and roll, was just get to the rim, finish around the rim, be a finisher. That is exactly what KP's game is when he's at his best. And and when that's working and when Luka's working, the Mavs are pretty unstoppable. And like you mentioned before, Tim didn't even have a great game, and the Mavericks still won. Usually the Mavericks are like, they're killing for Tim or Brunson to have a good game, and they just didn't in this one.
I mean, it was so nice to have that, and it felt like a 1-2 punch. It really did. It wasn't just like two guys separately having good games. Like, it felt like they made each other better. There was chemistry, and like that stuff matters, like, because this is our team. This is it. Like, we don't have, let's make this work, because that's
you don't think a big trade is coming or anything like that?
I don't think. I mean, I think it's unlikely. I think there's too many good teams now. I just think it's like unlikely, like that we'll be able to. We're weird.
There's not enough sellers, right?
We're a weirdly constructed team where like the Bulls still have like Kobe White they could dangle, right? Like they have like someone who's like kind of enticing. We'd have to part with Brunson. Like that would be our guy, and no one wants that, right? Like we don't want that. And so I just feel like I feel like we have to, if we can make this work, that's our best case scenario, as opposed to like pie in the sky, like go out and get someone. So and again, it's the Spurs, right? They're young, they're bad, but like, and they don't have someone to match up against KP, but like, that's good. A lot of teams don't have that. So let's have them learn how to feast. Because when he learns how to feast, we can do a lot of damage. So I loved it. I loved watching them. Basketball is fun again.
It is fun, and it's by design, right? When KP is the lone big, we've been talking about this. Yes. Seems like for weeks now. When KP is the lone big, and they get Luka and KP in the pick and roll, that's when the Mavericks are really, really good. You can't just do all right, Luka, Dwight Powell, okay, Luka, Willie Caulistein, all right, Luka, Boban, and then KP on the perimeter, like just roaming around from three, because he's just going to throw his hands up. He's just going to be like, I'm open all the time, and then he's going to miss from the wings.
Yes.
And it just doesn't work. But when you get
there's
KP,
no spacing too for Luka.
And when you get KP moving in the pick and roll, that's when things really work. And because he's a good finisher. He's a good rim runner. He's a good cutter. All that stuff works.
And he's such a weird player that like he needs to like he's not good at like backing you down and like being Zebo. Like he's good at like coming in from the weak side and doing a putback dunk, like where he's not being touched, right? Like he's precious cargo. And and again, like we don't need to we know what works, right? Like, and we know him at the 5 is the best option. Like, and I don't know if this is a Kleber thing that he's out, and so we have to do this. I don't know if it's the season's long. We can't rely on him to like we're trying to get to the playoffs to keep him healthy, which I think it is. Yeah. But I don't think then Dwight Powell is so bad in a way that is like makes me feel like I'm insane. Like it's like what is there conspiracy? Like that's what it feels like, Illuminati stuff. Like it feels like JFK Jr. stuff. Like it's like why does he play? Like the second he went out, we went on a 20-6 run. We were down 5. He goes out, we go on a 26 run. Like what? Like I just don't understand, and I need someone to help me understand. But I know there's nothing there.
The wine.
That's what it makes you do when.
Yes, it does. That was perfect. It's truly, and I'm like, do I not know? These guys know basketball better than me. Like,
yeah.
Like, am I an idiot? Because this looks. The eye test, the stats.
This Dwight Powell KP lineup hasn't worked in 2 years. It worked. Ever. It worked 2 years ago. No, it worked 2 years ago. Well, like the 2000, yes. What was it? 19-20 season, or was it the 18-19 season when they started a bunch of games together? That lineup was pretty good together.
Springy Dwight Powell.
This was Dwight before the Achilles injury and all that. It was a different kind of Dwight, and it was different NBA too. There was just a different era. Also, that was the team with Curry too. So that's like elite spacing at a certain point too. So that was just a completely different team with that. So yeah, Dwight Powell did have some moments in this game though. He had a couple blocks. He had that one possession where he had like 2 offensive rebounds in a row. You're like, oh, he's doing stuff.
His third quarter was amazing. He had 2 alley-oops in that quarter. Like he was awesome. And again, he finishes with 6 and 4.
Yeah, but we have to remind every time we like poop on Dwight or whatever, like talk about Dwight negatively or anything. He's an NBA player. He's just a backup center being thrust into this role, playing 25-30 minutes a night sometimes as a starter, and you're like, he's just not, right? And so
he got those rebounds and blocks against Thad Young, against their second
their backup center.
Yeah, who's not even a center. So
backup out of position center.
Yeah. Truly, that old. as I used to call him on the Bulls show.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But he was
And that was like 3 years ago.
it was last year. Bulls would be like, fans would be like, you can't trade Thad Young. I remember last year, I'm like, you won 15 games. Like, we just can't trade him.
I used to say that about Maxey when the Mavs were that bad too.
I was too. I mean, Roddy B was untouchable. Like and I stand by that. I stand by that decision. He wasn't as good. He was better than Kobe. I stand by that.
Roddy B.
You're right. He's just a backup center, but I honestly don't even think he's our second best big. I think he's like our third best big.
Yeah, right. When Max is healthy.
And I get it that he's smart and probably like. It's just that like at some point, the second he gets out and we go on, like, and it happened in the Bulls game. The end of first quarter, beginning of second quarter, Mavs were rolling.
Yep.
And then, but if you look at, he adjusted. He only played 15 minutes. He did not, and so like that's something. Like,
yeah, I talked about this a lot in yesterday's show about why.
Sorry, I didn't.
No, it's okay. About why it doesn't work, but the starting lineup didn't necessarily work in this game either. They started out really slow. It
never does.
They finally tied it up with like 5 minutes to go in the first quarter, and then that's when the second unit came in, and then they ended up taking that 10-point lead. But the Spurs were up like 16-11. The Mavs had 11 points in the first like 5-6 minutes of this game, and that can't be the way you start every single game, even especially against this bad defensive Spurs team at this point.
Especially when we have this road trip, which we could goose egg. Like that's on the table. Like. We have to rack up wins because we get blown out when we play competent teams. And so you're right, but like it never works. Like it's always the second he goes out, the offense clicks. And you're like, okay. Even with Willie Caulistein, you're like, okay, I guess it clicks. Like, and he's not doing anything. So we could spend guys, we should wipe our hands of Dwight Powell. We'll never understand it. Like they want us to go crazy. Like truly. This is like, yeah. They're winning. We should just not even acknowledge it. It's like trolls online. Just don't even give them oxygen.
Coming up, let's get into some more about this game. We'll go through our game notes, basically just go around the rest of the roster and talk about who had a good game, who didn't. Dorian finally hit some threes, and we got to talk about Willie Caulistein because Jason Kidd definitely wanted to talk about Willie Caulistein. He said something I completely disagree with. We'll talk about that coming up. All right, John, let's get into the rest of this game. We've talked a lot about Luka, talked about KP, their connection. That was really the big story of this game. Let's go around the rest of this roster. Dorian Finney-Smith, 3 of 5 from 3, finally hitting some threes, 7 boards, 3 assists, 3 steals. He was all over. He had a block. He was all over the place in this game. Finally, like a really, really good Dorian Finney-Smith game for all the doubters. I've seen just as many people ask, why is Dorian still starting? Why is Dwight still starting this season? Yes. And I've kind of been like, I love Dorian. We started, like Isaac and I started covering the team the same year was his rookie year, so we're like attached to him.
That's fair.
In like a way a parent and a child is.
And you should be. That's what sports is. You should be.
Right, but his shooting has been really bad. But finally, we got a really good Dorian game. We're like, all right, when he's playing like that's the production the Mavericks want out of that spot.
I mean, he has he played fantastic in this season. Like his initials are, they usually stand for don't effing shoot, right? Like, like it's just like so bad. And like every time I'm like, when he plays it, I'm like, don't fucking shoot. Like it truly, like that's what it is, man. And he was fantastic.
Where's my bleep button on this?
I know. I don't know what the rules are by the Locked On.
Yeah, don't do it.
Media Empower. But I believe myself. But like, I do feel like if he can give us this, like 10% more, maybe 20% more consistently, we're a different team. We're a letter grade
completely
better. And when he's out there just causing chaos, that's the best. But when you have him with Dwight again, like it's just 2 hustle dudes. Like, and he's the guy who's like, oh, he's a hustle dude. He can kind of shoot. He's not. He's a shooter who hustles.
Yeah,
he's a hustle guy who can kind of shoot, And I feel like it needs to be like icing on the cake when he shoots, not the meat. These are terrible.
Yeah, no, that's totally right. Yeah,
like
I don't know what meal you're eating with icing and with meat at the same time.
I'm depressed.
Maybe gravy. Maybe you've been out of Texas too long, right?
Oh, I truly have. It's seasonal. The gravy. I'm eating pizza casseroles up here.
What is that pizza in Chicago?
It's worst. Their food is bad.
Their hot dog is weird, like the Chicago dog.
Italian beef.
There's so much stuff in it.
You got to dip the sandwich. Like, don't put ketchup. I don't get it. There's all these rules that I'm like, I don't know, man. It's so cold. Why are you
just
yelling
get me
at
a Whataburger?
It snowed today. Like, it's so cold. But I feel like who were your like bright spots of the non?
Yeah, well, so I said that Brunson didn't have a great game. He actually he did.
He's our third. He was great.
Yeah, he had 17 points, 3 assists. He didn't have like an incredible Brunson game, but he still had a really solid game. Again, plus 20 off the bench, which means that those bench units are really carrying the Mavericks at certain points in this game too, which is massive, and they were extending the leads. And so Brunson, again, he just continues to be Brunson, which is great. He continues to hit that little shot in the in the mid range of the post, and he hit a couple threes in this game, and that's all you want from him.
He has been truly fantastic this season. And like when I talk to my other Mavs fans, like when they're mad, I'm like, but the things you're mad at, they're not surprises.
Yeah.
But the things that are good are surprises, and they're really fun. Like Brunson taking the lead, Frank being so good. Reggie, I'm a Reggie believer. And so like those are all huge like positives. And I feel like that's great when the unknowns are positives. And when it's like we know who's not great.
Yeah. You mentioned Frank Ntilikina. He had 6 points. He hit 2 threes. He had 3 assists that were pretty good. And I thought he had some pretty good minutes as well. He's just fitting really good in that. Like,
what is
he's
it?
the
What's
guard.
Happening? He feels like he's been a Mav for 25 years. Like he just makes sense in the uniform. Like when he dribbles, he just feels like a Mav, and he's been great.
Well, especially when he's hitting threes, you're like, okay, boom,
he's
there
shooting
you go.
so well.
So if you remember last season, Josh Richardson affectionately gave the nickname the Water Bugs to Jalen Brunson and Trey Burke. That backcourt that they started at the beginning of the season was like, oh, we're gonna have these 2 ball handlers that can both dribble, pass, and shoot, and they're gonna be creating all kinds of stuff. It's gonna be the next version of JJ Barea and Devin Harris. Well, it did not turn into that because that was one of their worst duos that they had last season. And Carlisle, stopped playing it within the first 15 games or so. And so you just stopped using them. But now you have Brunson with Ntilikina next to him. Ntilikina gets to be the very far removed secondary creator. He gets to dribble basically a couple times when he goes in.
Yes.
He doesn't have to do too much. He just hits an open 3. He plays defense next to Brunson, and Brunson can do all the stuff because he's been so good that Frank Ntilikina doesn't have to do a lot, and anytime he does, he contributes because he's not forced to do anything he can't do at this point.
100%. Like they took out Trey Burke and Brunson were like 2 Spider-Mans pointing at each other, and now they got and their defense was terrible. And then you got a guy who's
it was maybe like the
not.
Oh, which one's the good Spider-Man and the bad Spider-Man?
Yeah, you're
gonna upset people.
Yeah, no, not that they're the same, just that they do the same things.
It was who were the Spider-Man in the multiverse? There was the Jake Johnson one, and then there was the Peter Parker one that still took his job seriously.
Yes, and there was the Spider Pig. John Sabine.
Trey Burke was the Spider Pig.
But Trey Burke. But Frank makes sense. He matches up. He's athletic as hell. He can cut, he can dribble, he can drive better than most. And he's been shooting in a way that I'm scared. I'm like, he's making it. I'm expecting him to.
Yeah, you're like, can he still? Is he supposed to be able to do this?
And I'm like, I guess. I know we think all Europeans can shoot, but that's we'll unpack that later. But truly, he has been. I mean, beloved too, right? Mm-hmm. Beloved, we love him.
Oh, he was great. We did our media day interview with him, and we thought he was great.
Was he amazing?
Yeah, he was just super nice, answered all the questions, so soft spoken to you. It's like one of those people you have to lean in just to hear what they're saying. And we asked him about the Frankie Smokes nickname.
He didn't like it.
He doesn't like it, and he wants to be called the French Prince. He likes that nickname that people have given him. And so people have really embraced the French Prince. That's how you know a guy is beloved, when he says, this is the nickname I prefer, and then they actually call him that, right? Yes, they don't just are we're not calling you the servant, Durant. We're not doing that.
Oh my God. That dude makes everything not fun, right? That guy splits the check at every meal. You know it. You know,
right
Kevin
down the
Durant.
middle too, right?
Even if you got a salad, you're paying for him. That dude splits the check on principle. He's everything he does is so heavy. Oh, I hate that guy. Sorry, but Frankie, I love when there's these players and Mavs like that when the fans jump on him immediately. Like there's no evaluation. We jumped on him day one.
Yeah, we're in.
And it paid off like so far. And I love that. Like I just love that I think like all sports teams do this, but like just this is our guy.
You know who else that happened for is Boban.
I mean, Boban's everyone's second favorite player. Like Boban is, if they remake The Princess Bride, we know the first cast.
Oh my God, that just blew my mind.
We know who's cast first.
That's amazing.
Like he's beloved. He's beloved.
But mostly dead all day.
Yeah, truly. Boban's like they don't make him like he I always say like he's like Children of the Forest type.
Oh man.
Old gods type.
He's the best.
Wonder. He's the best. But like I love Frankie Smokes, and you can feel electricity when he gets in the game, you know, especially at home. You like
it's the length, it's the long arms, I think too. It adds to it.
He's European, which like I would say if you're a Mavs fan, like
on brand.
You root for every Euro if you're a Mavs fan. You're like, Jokic is my guy. Like every time you do your All-Star ballot, it's just Euros. And we love it. And like I even think Sterling Brown had a good Sterling Brown game. He did some bad things, obviously.
He did do some bad things in this game.
But I felt like he was like really active. He's getting there. Like he got steals. I felt like he brought stuff that people don't bring. And so that's why I liked him this game.
Yeah. That's what you want from him. And if he starts hitting threes, all of a sudden this team is different, right? All of a sudden that really, if him and Frank Ntilikina are hitting, well, first Dorian and Bullock have to hit their threes and Luka.
Yes.
But if all five of those guys start hitting threes at like the clip that they have for their career, Frank maybe steps up a little bit more in that category, then this is a completely different team at that point.
So who's your guy? Who's your favorite Mav that's not like Luka, obviously? Who's the sun god?
Maxey probably has to be the guy.
Maxey's your guy?
Love Maxey. Yeah, I think that there's just not many players in the league like him that can defend, and that can shoot threes. He answers so many questions the Mavericks have right now. I even tweeted out today, I was like, I miss Maxey Kleber, and like a million people liked it because everybody agrees that when they're missing him, it exasperates all the somebody said I said that word wrong. It exacerbates. What's that word?
Exacerbate. You said it right.
Yeah. Somebody in the YouTube comments got in my head when I said that word. They're like, no, it's exasperate. Exasperate? Anyway.
Well, I think that's a different word. We don't have time. That's locked on etymology.
yeah, right. But when Maxey's out, it makes all the other bigs look even worse. is what I'm trying to say. Yes. And so, yeah.
Especially he looked back like this beginning of the season before he got hurt.
He did.
You know,
he had that
small sample size. But he looked back. Like he looked good.
Yeah.
Like I beat COVID. I'm hitting my open threes.
All right. I have to tell everybody, Willie Caulistein did not, I thought, he didn't have a good game in this one, I don't think. He was in that second unit and he was running around and he altered some shots and he had some blocks and things. He had a block. He had some blocks. He had one block. And but Jason Kidd after the game sat down and was talking about, Luka and KP and answering the question about, what did you like about this game? He's like, oh, well, it would have been better if we finished the game well and if we're just being picky. And then he threw something in there, unprompted. Nobody asked him about this. He said, you know who else had a good game, in my opinion, was Willie Caulistein. He did some good things for us. Stuff that's not going to show up on SportsCenter, but he had some good moments and some good defensive plays and things like that. Classic coach just trying to almost gaslight. Coach just trying to lift up a player that hasn't been playing well at all for doing anything productive at all. Carlisle used to do this with a couple of random Mavs role players, but Willie Caulistein getting the name drop from coach in the post game I thought was very calculated, and I'm not really here for it.
I'm not here for it. I think it's because he only played 9 minutes and everyone else played at least 14 minutes. I think that might be the reason. He did nothing. He does nothing. Willie Cauley-Stein's monster. He does nothing. He's the worst. Sterling Brown had 5 rebounds, a block, and 3 steals or 2 steals. Willie Cauley-Stein had 2 rebounds. Sterling Brown's been bad. We don't like Sterling Brown. He still gave you 5 rebounds. He had more than our bigs combined. No, wait, they had 6. Sorry. That's the crazy. And so we know what he's doing that, but he has been so disappointing this season. I think he has regressed, which is crazy because he didn't start that high.
The other thing that we should mention, Willie Caulistein still played. Moses Brown, to our dismay, we've been calling for it on this show for pods now after like 3 post games. We're like, can Moses Brown play all the Willie Caulistein minutes at this point? Moses Brown didn't even see a minute in a 20-point game. Neither did Josh Green. Now, there's a reason, I explained it earlier in the show, why the Mavericks didn't go to straight garbage time minutes, but neither of those guys getting minutes in a game like this is pretty interesting. Somebody brought up, I think it was, somebody brought up a tweet from a while ago where it was Jason Kidd's introductory press conference where he said, I'm going to focus on development, guys like Josh Green. And he mentioned Josh Green by name at his press conference. Didn't mention a lot of players, but mentioned Josh Green. And we haven't seen him at all do anything. Where are you at with Josh Green, just as a Mavs fan?
I like Josh. I have to like him. I don't know what we have. He needs to play. He is one of those guys who every time there's a 50-50 ball, it happens the wrong way for him. I think he has such bad luck. He'll go up there, still go off his foot. But I just like the chaos he brings. I like his vision. And I don't know why he doesn't at least play to see what we have, right? I'm tired of hearing about Sadiq Bey, Desmond Bane, people lamenting. I'm just over it. Because I think he's good. When I see him in spurts, I'm encouraged. And I'm like, why can't I see more? Him and Moses Brown. And again, if we want to make a trade, we can't have these DMPs with people. We have to show people if they're good or if they are good.
Well, maybe that tells us.
Maybe they're not. But I just know when we watch, I like Moses when he's out there, and I like Josh Green who's out there. How do you feel about Josh Green? He shouldn't shoot, but I like him.
Yeah, still a work in progress. I think that the guys that are playing above Josh Green should be playing above Josh Green right now. And I also think the other thing is development doesn't just happen on the floor during games. They're probably doing stuff outside of the game, and But then my other thing is, all right, send him down to Frisco then, send him to the Texas Legends.
Have Josh Green just feast. Have Moses Brown feast, and then come back and feel like, it's at least I've been running and sweating and doing things, and not just putting up shots.
There you go. We will be back for our Monday show. Isaac should be back. He's working on getting his internet set up at his house, and he's texted me today. It's the longest day of my life. He's moving and trying to figure out all that kind of stuff with 2 little kids under the age of 3. So he's trying to figure that all out. But hopefully we'll be back by Monday. Monday, Mavericks versus Nuggets game as well. We'll have a post game after that. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.